Man City take on PSG in the Champions League tonight. Sky Bet have an amazing offer in store. Haaland 2+ shots on target. Phil Foden 1+ shot on target. Was 2-1, now 4-1. Head over to Sky Bet to get involved. 18 plus, T's and C's apply. BeGambleAware.org. Right, Adam, is this the worst Man United team ever?
I think we're alluding to Ruben Amorim's comments, and I've seen Jamie Carragher speaking about them, and I disagree with what Jamie Carragher said in regards to those comments. The manager said after the game, maybe it's the worst team in the club's 147-year history. It's definitely the worst team in my time because, like the saying goes, the league table does not lie. And in the Premier League era, I've never seen Manchester United this low in the league. It looks very unlikely we'll get out of the bottom half of the table. Like Rory was alluding to earlier, like in terms of the odds, we're closer to being relegated than we are to finishing in the top four. I think top four is gone. The only way we get into the Champions League, I think, is through winning the Europa League. And again, that's looking a stretch with the form that the team are in at the moment. 2 wins in our last 10 Premier League games, one of those coming against a Man City side who were quite frail at that time, I think it's fair to say, and Southampton, who for 80 minutes of the game were better than us. And that's a team that are basically a championship side. I agreed with the manager, what he said, and I agreed with him saying it as well. I think at the moment, these players, this squad, the club, in terms of the board and everyone, they kind of need a shock to the system. They need to realise what situation they're in, and they need to realise what it's going to take to get us out of this situation. And without someone kind of pointing at you and going, bruv, you're part of the worst Manchester United team ever, it kind of feels like we get a little victory here or there. We beat Arsenal with 10 men, which was fantastic. We beat Man City, which was great as well. But it kind of makes me feel like a lot of people take their foot off the gas as soon as we have one of those results. And we've seen over the last 10 years, we've kind of been in a cycle of, oh, here we go, we're finally turning the corner. Oh, no, we're not. We're back to square one again. So I agree with the manager. I think I commented on one of Carragher's posts when he posted about it, saying, Carragher referenced, like, why is he pouring fuel on the fire? And I was like, burn the bitch down and start again. Like, if he needs to pour fuel on the fire, let him do it. Because I believe Amorim is a very good coach. I believe he's the one to be in the job at the moment. He's made mistakes, fair enough. But I'm fully behind this manager. And nothing that I've seen so far is making me doubt whether he's the right guy or not to get us out of this.
Also, they've tried it the other way. They've tried all this, sort of pretending that everything's okay. They've tried being nice to people. They've tried normalising mediocrity. But that's what they do. When they don't say, this is unacceptable, you are the worst crop of players that Manchester United have ever had. You're certainly the worst crop of players since 1934. Like, why shouldn't that be said if it's true? I don't understand.
Because he's got a long-term commitment to the club.
Yeah, but
he's
not
a young manager. He hasn't got anywhere near enough credit in the bank as a manager. He's at Man United. You could argue he's at West. He could have been at West Ham in the summer.
Do you think it's
not Guardiola saying
a bad move?
I think it's kamikaze stuff, and it reminds me of when Ralph Rangnick did it. And it's like, all right, he's on a 6-month contract. He might be moving upstairs after that, and he's just saying whatever he wants to say. Fair enough. This guy, it's a little bit suicidal because he wants to be at the club for a long term, and you've got to build a foundation. Ultimately, every summer we say about Man United, they're going to chop and change 13, 15 players every summer. They're not. So a lot of these players that he's thrown under the bus, he will have to work with next summer.
But is that not the point that you're making? If you go, this is the worst crop of players, what you're doing is you're saying to your board, there's only so much I can do with this. Like, there's no amount.
He knows he can't get rid of them all. He knows he can't get rid of 12 every transfer window. He can't. So a lot of them he'll be working with directly still next season. Like, it's kamikaze stuff. I think
there's reports coming out as well that he smashed up a TV in a dressing room at full time, which I fully like as well, because you know what it's doing. Yeah, it's giving players an excuse to throw their toys out the pram. It's giving players an excuse to kind of go, well, I ain't going to stick around here. And you know when that happens, we know we don't need you. Like, it's giving the players also an opportunity to go, actually, I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to fight for my spot here. And like, we've got a manager who's serious about what he's doing.
But modern footballers don't work like that.
No, but
what you lads are saying, I think, is right in the theoretical world of football. I think you're right in the theoretical world of football. You want your manager being completely honest. But all I'm saying is, these guys will turn on him in a similar way. And I think the way he's handled the media in the last few weeks, even his first game against Ipswich, where he looked at Ed Sheeran coming into the Sky Sports interview, I thought this guy's completely out of his depth. He's not understanding the media circus around Man United.
I think he understands just how big the job is.
I think he's struggling with it. He looks haggard. He looks old already. He looks like he's aged 20 years.
Do you know what, Booth? I feel like your take on this is completely different to mine, but yours chimes with what Jamie Carragher was saying. So I think that it's refreshing. If I was a Manchester United fan, I would want this. When I think about great managers that I've witnessed, they would do this. So the best manager Chelsea have ever had is Jose Mourinho. Mourinho would do this. Mourinho would say
that this early in his time. I was going to say the opposite, and obviously you know far better than me. But these great managers, they carry the weight early.
I've got standards.
But when Guardiola was getting battered in his first season, he made this fantasy world. He was saying John Stones was the best player ever. He was saying Phil Foden was better than Lionel Messi. He was creating this fantasy that a lot of these players could buy into. Now, 7 or 8 years down the line, Guardiola can sack players off.
That's an interesting point.
Buvey, you weren't 15th in the league.
No, it's not as bad as that. I'm aware of that. Of course.
Rubbish against the champions.
You know better than me.
You hadn't had a decade.
But the great managers build a fantasy these players can build into. If you're 4 weeks in, 5 weeks into his time at Man United, you're saying the worst side ever. Where can you go from there?
I like it. You know why I like it?
I know why, by the way, you like it. I'm not saying you shouldn't like it.
You know Eric Ten Hag, when he came in, I think it was maybe 6 months in, he went, I can't do what I did before here. And Ruben Amorim's going, I'm sticking to my guns. If you think I'm changing, I am not changing. And we need a manager to do that. We need someone to go, I'm the boss. You lot are going to fucking listen, shape up or shit out.
He hasn't got credit. If he keeps losing, eventually the buck has to stop with him as well in terms of his performance. I don't think no one's criticising him.
At least he goes out on his shield. At least he goes out doing what he wanted to do and being himself. You can't have a manager come in and go, I'm scared to offend anyone in the dressing room. I'm stepping on eggshells. Like,
I don't think it's that though.
You just can't have.
I'm not saying he shouldn't be.
And also, these players need to realise it's not fucking acceptable, man.
You know better than me.
It's not acceptable.
No, but you are making a good point here.
In private, it's different, isn't it? In private, you're right. The TV thing, you're being angry. But when you're coming out, but the press conference was weak publicly to the world. This is the worst side ever. You're part of it. Because these players are more than good enough to beat Manchester City, the champions of England. Then you get battered by Brighton.
The players that he's talking about there being the worst, effectively, what he's saying is...
Can I just add to this, like... The context of him saying that, I think he meant what he said, but he also went, "Yous lot all want a headline, right?" And he kind of smirked when he said it. We're the worst Man United team ever. And he's always said he's a part of that. He's never...
No, of course not.
He's never separated.
But why give him a headline? Ferguson was great at not giving people headlines. He was very good at not giving people a headline. Why give someone a headline when you've got no credit in the bank? You're a young manager from Portugal. Your first job in England. It's the biggest job in world football. Let's be completely honest. The most controversial job in football. You're giving them headlines. Why?
See,
it's amateur. It's terrible PR.
The way that I naturally approach this, I think it's a really interesting thing. And Amorim's take here is going to be explored, and time will tell whether it's correct. Ultimately, if Manchester United win a league under Amorim, this could be seen as the moment the fuse was lit. If he's sacked in 6 months' time, this could be the moment that we look back on and saying that it went wrong then. But I do think that there has been a culture at Manchester United where they have normalised being mediocre. They have normalised being average. And they have signed average players and told themselves they're great. When they signed Anthony, like when he's fired these shots, gone, this is the worst Man United squad of all time. He's also flicking the V signs there massively at Eric Ten Hag.
Of course, yeah.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
This is a massive... The board, what are you playing
at?
Yeah. The players, your form is unacceptable. Eric Ten Hag has bought the vast majority of these players. And let's face it, you know, when you look at Manchester United forward options, Jesus Christ... You know, when you think, and I know, Adam, you like to make an impassioned defence for the likes of Højlund and Xerxes, but I don't have a dog in this fight. They're just not Man United quality. They're just not.
I'm not attached to it. I genuinely couldn't care less.
No, but what I mean is, you know when Amorim
like,
goes...
No.
Amorim goes, this is the worst Man United squad not in recent, ever. And you go, yeah.
The league table don't lie. Also, it's like, with Andre Onana, again, I kind of looked at his early season performances, looked at the stats, and you go, you know what, he's been quite well. But the trouble is with him, there's always a mistake there. And even if we want to eventually get to the point where we're winning for the league, if he's your goalkeeper, it's not going to happen. Because there's a Rick waiting to happen.
Yeah, we're in the same situation.
You know, like, yes, he will be, like, you know, when you said, is Sanchez better than Onana? I don't think Sanchez is better than Onana. Because Onana, 85% of the time, is generally a good goalkeeper. But that 15% of the time's always waiting to happen.
No, but do you know what? This is where Enzo Maresca made a massive mistake. The point of a good goalkeeper, as Sir Alex Ferguson told us, was, what did he say, 12 to 15 points?
Yeah.
A good goalkeeper, Ferguson, who knows about winning a league title, 12 to 15 points. It was put to Enzo Maresca that on 4 occasions, Robert Sanchez has cost us. And he went, well, I can think of 4 occasions where he saved us. You're like, yeah, but that's not the point, is it? You aren't meant to be
broken even.
You aren't meant to. Yeah. You aren't
0
meant
points.
to cost us as many points. You're meant to make us better, not average.
He's broken
And I think
even.
Onana, even if you're being really kind to Onana, the best that Onana will do is equalise his own inadequacy. He will make us
He's not even
save.
that good, though, is he?
I think what he possibly does.
He's cost them -9 points, I'd say.
I'd say
As a
that,
rough
I'd say
estimate.
Onana might just about
get a little
Champions
bit
League group stages.
You know, see why I get a bit. I'll defend him on that
because he was man of the match. The game before,
the game against Southampton.
Yeah, he kept him in the
huge double save.
You know, he kept him in the game against Southampton.
There's been a few games this season where
Southampton.
but everybody spoke about Diallo.
it's 3
Everybody
points,
spoke
isn't
about Diallo Southampton, which they should. But the reason that Diallo was in a position to win them the game was because of Onana.
Of course.
And
But then he cost them the game the following one.
But then Garnacho's might be leaving. I'd be pulling my hair out. He's one player you can work with. Maybe he might not be a world-class talent. Maybe he is. We don't know. I think he's a fantastic
You know
talent.
he's going to leave. I think it's going to happen.
How's he leaving?
I think it happened.
That's crazy.
The reason why it happens,
gonna happen.
and again, we've spoke about this. And remember when we spoke about this on the overlap, kind of going, why are we incentivizing selling your young academy players? And I know it's pure profit. Like Flav would say, well, it's pure profit. Of course, it's going to be pure profit. But us selling Alejandro Garnacho, to me, like, is ridiculous.
So bad.
You look at what he's. When I said this the other day, people were like, oh, what's he achieved? But when you look at what he's
20.
achieved and what he's done already,
20.
in terms of his output, in
I think
terms
he's
of
like
his role,
26 in my mind.
in terms of
Based on how he is as a player. He's a good player, man.
in terms of everything he's done, he's up there with some of the best wingers in terms of numbers. And whilst he's going for a bad patch at the moment, the reason for that was because Erik ten Hag played him every single game in a row last season as much as he possibly could. He's going to be fatigued. Now, there's been some talk about him possibly leaking things off the pitch and his brother kind of being involved with that.
It's his brother on social media.
If his brother's leaking it, we know where it's coming from, right? And then you've kind of seen again reports on Tuesday of Amorim smashing up the dressing room, and you're like, is that him leaking it again? But as a player, he's absolutely fantastic. The only thing that I think the board will be thinking of is, if you sell him, it means you can spend like 150 million, right? Because he's pure profit, and the way they do transfers and all those things means you get your profit now, and then you break down your transfers in over a couple of years. It's the only reason I can think of. Like, there's no other reason that makes sense to sell him.
I can think of one. Greed.
From who?
From the board who want to make some money.
No, it's not. But it's not about making money. It's about making us be in a position where we can spend money. Right?
That's what you want it to be. That they're going to reinvest the money that they own. Maybe they're not going to reinvest the money that they earn.
They're not, are they?
When Tottenham have sold players in the past, they don't always reinvest the money. They might want to turn a profit, make the shareholders happy.
Well, my assumption is that it's like a PSR kind of move where here's 100% profit, which means you can spend an extra 100 million in the summer.
I very much
for
doubt
me,
that's what would happen.
I think Garnacho is going to turn into a terrific player. I think he's a fantastic player already.
You won't be there in August.
But the thing is, even if say he is, like the punt, you've put the groundwork in, you've nurtured and nourished his development.
We're going from Atletico and he's really young.
If he somehow becomes just I'm not even saying I'm not saying that he's going to be running the wing at the Bernabeu for a decade, right? Like Cristiano Ronaldo did. I'm not saying that. But let's just say that he goes on to become a really, really good Premier League and international footballer. So he ends up with 85 caps for Argentina and 100 Premier League goals. It would be an embarrassment for that not to happen at your club.
Yeah,
after
I think it's
nourishing him.
embarrassing we're even looking to get him gone.
I think he's going to go, though.
I think he will.
Like the fact that the agent was openly at Stamford Bridge.
They need him to go to Barcelona. It looks a lot better for Man United. If he goes to Barcelona, it's an Argentine thing, and Spain, it looks a lot better.
I think we're using Chelsea at the moment to bump up Napoli's bid, though.
Napoli, really? He should not be leaving in his prime years to go to Napoli. I get
an
Barcelona.
Argentinian would want to go Napoli, though.
Yeah, but
think about Maradona.
They're not a project in the same way Barcelona are.
Mate, this is
Napoli.
He's going to sign for Chelsea.
I
really believe he's going to.
I've said it all along. I think, obviously, the Kobe Mainoo thing I thought was rubbish all along, but just even the talk about Kobe Mainoo leaving or Garnacho leaving. Yes, right now, people don't want to see Garnacho because they think he's a bad player because he's going through bad form. He's a very good fucking player. Look at some of the goals he scored. Even when we were in the Champions League, he was scoring goals.
Yeah, you know that goal he scored against Fulham just before Cristiano Ronaldo did the interview.
Must have been 18.
He was a child. Yeah,
That's a great
He's been
finish.
about for a long time.
That's a great finish.